Yo, peep this. You just clicked on let's view it, and ticka Tyrone Cross. Welcome to my channel where I give you the best reactions to Karens, crazy people, people getting hurt, and other hot topics or topics I find interesting. And as a bonus, I irritate atheists. Apparently they really hate if you say God is real. And on that note, let's continue to react to our favorite atheists. So you already know, let's view it.
Okay, let's pretend for a second that A, souls exist, and that B, pain is not a function of our brain, but instead something that a soul can actually feel.
I just want to highlight, did you notice how she said, let's pretend that souls are real? Right there, she's admitting that she doesn't believe in God because God and souls go hand in hand. But with that, I got a quick question for you atheists. Science cannot explain consciousness. If we don't have a soul, what is it that guides our thoughts? What is it that when you're sitting there taking your bath or whatever, and you're like, I wonder what I should eat for dinner? What is making you think that? Everyone has a brain, everyone has a heart, everyone has a body, but inside that body, there's a bunch of different feelings and emotions and thoughts. Where do those come from? What is it inside you that makes you go, I'm gonna clean the house. Nah, you know what? I'll do it tomorrow. What is that? If that's not a soul, what is it?
So in this fantasy of yours, the Lord comes back. He looks at my soul and he finds me wanting.
Again, she calls it a fantasy, which is another way of saying God's not real. He's all in our imaginations, right?
He decides that I am so evil and so bad that I deserve an eternity of unending torment. And knowing, of course, that no one can grow or learn or change while they're in pain, there is actually no function to this at all, except getting out his rage.
That's not a good point either. Your whole life you get chances to grow and learn and change. Again, I'm not sure if hell is real. I don't believe everything in the Bible. I do not go to church. I do not consider myself a Christian or a Catholic. I have a straight, direct relationship with God. But since she's using Christianity, if hell was real, hell is the end game. Hell is the prize that you got for never learning and growing through the life you were living. But of course, in the atheist mind, once they're in hell and proof is there and they know they effed up, well, now I need to learn and grow from this. Get these flames off my butt. I'm sorry. Now I realize nothing didn't make everything. And I'm not a monkey. Can you please turn the heat down now?
But don't worry. Your fate is not mine. You know where you're going. And sure enough, God looks at your soul and he sends you to heaven. Now you get to spend an eternity with the being who sent me and millions of other humans to eternal torment. Are you excited about that? Does that sound like a good time? Thankfully, you escaped my fate, but are you actually happy knowing how many are suffering right below your feet? Is this your heaven and your definition of happiness?
I'm sorry. But the voice is just so creepy. The whisper. Anyways, let me not talk about the creepy whisper. Last time, one of her co-atheists got upset about it. Again, I don't know if hell is real. And honestly, I think you gotta be a pretty bad person to get there. And I definitely don't think promoting anything against God, he will forgive. But the thing is this. As much as she wants to say, is that your happiness? Is that your heaven that you're dreaming about? What about an atheist and what they believe? They literally believe this is all nothing. How does that make you happy? Or maybe you believe in reincarnation and it's just an endless cycle of going through this terrible world over and over again. How would that make you happy?
Free will is not God's magical get-out-of-jail-free card. I mean, one, we don't even have free will. Or at least, our ability to freely choose our actions is limited to what we are actually capable of doing.
What? What does she mean by that? Like we can't fly? Or I can't become invisible? Other than that, I can do anything or attempt to do anything I want. So that doesn't make any sense.
Will myself to telepathically explode your brain, but I don't actually have the ability to do that.
Oh, that is what she's talking about. I know this video clip ain't done, but come on. It seems like it takes a lot of effort to be an atheist. If you gotta go this far in your thoughts to say you don't have free will because you can't do anything that you can imagine in your mind or that you've seen in Hollywood, because you can't do sci-fi. If they never wrote those sci-fi books or made those sci-fi movies, you wouldn't even think it was possible in the first place. You wouldn't even be thinking about teleporting or using telekinesis to blow up someone's brain.
Violates natural law, so I can't do it. And if you're right and God created us, then he designed natural law. He created a world where humans do not have the ability to telepathically kill each other, but they do have the ability to stick a knife in someone's back. If God is already limiting our free will by limiting our capabilities, then why wouldn't he go all the way and limit our ability to hurt each other?
Listen closely, atheists, because free will is what makes the good choice have value. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Because we can stab each other in the back with a knife makes a hug more meaningful. If all we could do is hug, then the hug will lose meaning. The fact that someone can punch you in your face is why a hug means so much. You need the opposite. And how boring would life be with none of these challenges? All you could do is good. God just protects us from everything bad. Every bad action, he just stops. Again, you need sadness to appreciate happiness. You need to be broke to appreciate money. I hate this argument by atheists. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. You could only do good things. A good person couldn't even be proud to be a good person because everybody's a good person. You wouldn't even acknowledge goodness because everything's good. Would good even be a word?
2, God violates our free will all the time. He stopped a lion from eating Daniel. He hardened Pharaoh's heart. He blinded the men trying to kill Elisha. He blinded the men of Sodom. When your holy book is full of stories of God intervening in human affairs, then free will isn't even an internally consistent notion, much less a moral excuse.
I always have to say, I don't believe everything in the Bible, but I still try to answer it as if everything in the Bible is real. God intervening doesn't mean they didn't have free will. All these stories that she's talking about where God intervened, the people made choices to be the ones he intervened with. Whether it's good or bad, whether he made you blind or he gave you a blessing, you were making those choices to become blind, or you were making the choices to get the blessing. Atheists want you to believe that free will means you could do whatever you want and never have any consequence. It just means you can do it. It just means I have free will to close my eyes and keep walking across the street, but when a car smashes my brains in, is anyone gonna say, hey, I thought he had free will to close his eyes and walk across the street? I highly doubt it.
If God can send a whale to swallow Jonah, then he can send a truck to stop a priest. 3.
Again, I don't necessarily believe all those stories, Jonah and the whale. Jonah would have got digested as far as I'm concerned. I believe those stories have a moral value to them, but I think they're put in to make the Bible seem unbelievable, to be honest. A lot of people turn away from the Bible because of outrageous stories like that. And whether they're true or not doesn't even really matter when it comes down to what's going on with the battle between God and the devil deceiving us since the beginning of our time.
It's not a violation of free will if they never had the choice to begin with. And this is the problem with imbuing your God with characteristics like omniscience. Unlike with humans, where unintended consequences are unavoidable, your God exists both outside of time and also he's all-knowing. Which means that he knew what Dahmer would do. He knew what Hitler would do. Hell, he knew what Satan would do. And he could have stopped every one of them without violating their free will, simply by not creating them. But he didn't. He created every single one of them anyways, knowing what they would do.
I spoke on this all-knowing thing on the video before, and I'll do it again. Just to be clear, I am not a biblical scholar. I know some of the stories in the Bible, I know some quotes, but I get the whole gist of what's going on. And as far as my relationship with God, the all-knowing part, how I see it, is he doesn't know the future. And if he can know the future, he's choosing not to know the future. Who would create all this madness on purpose? Who would create the devil on purpose? Who would create Charles Manson on purpose? All-knowing means he just knows. Just as you know, when your kid is jumping on the bed, they're going to fall down and hurt themselves. So when you're in the kitchen and next thing you know, you hear this doo-doom. You already expected it because you knew they were jumping on the bed. Why do you know this? Because you jumped on the bed and bumped your head. No, but for real, because you're wiser, right? Because you live life, you know the consequences of certain actions. Well, God has been here forever, as far as we're concerned, until we know otherwise. So imagine how wise he is. He knows when you make this action, he knows this bad thing can happen or this good thing can happen. That's what all-knowing means. It doesn't mean he knows the future. He knows everything that's going on, but in live time. That's why in Genesis, if you notice, as he's making things, the moon, the sun, or whatever he makes it, and then it says, then he sees it's good. It's not that he knew it was good, so he made it. He makes it, and then he sees it's good.
4. Violating free will is a good thing. Our ability to choose our actions is not and should never be ultimate. The right to swing my fist ends where someone else's face begins.
I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. That's bars. I'm gonna give it up to you. That was nice.
I mean, this is literally the basis of our justice system. Not only do we limit what people can do, but we rightfully prosecute people for failing to intervene in crimes. But somehow we're supposed to let the omnipotent God of the universe off the hook? I mean, at the end of the day, if Rebecca Hogue can serve time for failing to stop her abusive boyfriend from killing her son, then we can ask the creator of the universe some tough fucking questions about his complicity in all of this.
Well, like I said earlier, if we couldn't punch someone in the face, then hugging them would be meaningless. Now, as far as her bringing up the justice system, what does that have to do with God? The justice system was made by man, especially if you're talking about this justice system, this modern justice system. What does that have to do with God? The comparisons and analogies that atheists make always miss the mark because they have to keep making comparisons of God and then they use human stuff. It just doesn't work.
I'm not going to force you into a relationship with me. I mean, I could. You know, I can be very persuasive, but it wouldn't mean as much then if you haven't really chosen me.
First, I gotta assume she must mean that God forces us into a relationship with him, which he doesn't actually. He really doesn't, right? That's where the free will comes in, which is actually a pretty good point, right? Because if we don't got free will, wouldn't the atheist have to praise God? And I'm not sure why she's so confident she can persuade people to have a relationship with her. She ain't even persuasive on these videos.
Oh. Where am I? Oh, you're in the house that I designed. Do you like it? How did I get here? Oh, I brought you here. Okay, I don't know what this is about, but I don't want a relationship with you. Okay, sure. Then go to the basement. What? What's in the basement? Oh, it's the torture dungeon. I don't want to go down there. Don't be silly. Yes, you do. You chose it. There are only 2 doors in this house that I designed and put you in. One goes to my bedroom. The other goes to the basement. I'm not going to force you into my bedroom, but you do have to pick one of the 2. Isn't it so loving of me to give you a choice?
Did she choose the basement? The whole point of heaven and hell, which again, I don't know if hell's real, but I do believe there is a heaven. So with that being said, the whole point of it is that there's a better place than this terrible earth for us. And the only people that he wants there are people who are gonna do good, which means not greed, which means don't self-idolize, because that's what heaven's gonna be like. It's not gonna be about money. It's going to be about positivity and uplifting and love. And besides that, what's the problem with God wanting a relationship with you? If he's the one that made everything possible. Let's do an analogy for the atheist to understand. When if you created someone or a kid or whatever, right? And you give them the house, they're in this house and they're like, screw you, I don't want a relationship with you. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to force you to have a relationship with me. So throughout their whole life, they deny you, they ignore you, they tell everyone else that you don't even exist. But then the time comes and you build another bigger, greater, better house. And everyone that loved you and respects you and knew you were there for them, you invited them to live there. Are you going to invite the one that denied you that didn't want the relationship with you, that said you weren't there, if you were honest with yourself, you'd be like, hell no. So why can't God do it? And I'll end the video on that note. Tell me what you think. Are you guys enjoying these atheist videos? I appreciate them and like doing them because honestly, they're entertaining. Some of them are silly, but also I think it's for a really good cause. And hopefully it brings people closer to God, because really that would be the ultimate goal if I could actually do that. To change someone's heart to start following God, I don't even know if that's possible. So if this video is changing your heart, or maybe you're an atheist and maybe you're like, hey, this guy got a point. It's not all about religion. It's about your relationship with God. And if this video is changing your heart or bringing you closer to God, or maybe opening your mind to maybe there is a God, then share it and open up other people's heart to let them know there is someone here that is here to love us. We just need to open our eyes and stop letting the devil deceive us. But while you're out there changing people's hearts, opening their minds to the possibility that, hey, there's a God, I'm also gonna need you to hit that bell like the hunchback. Also click that hitchhiker button and sub ride with me. And I'll see you on the next trip.
Day and night. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.